Story 1. The water park I worked at last summer installed a shark statue pulled from a lake. They should have left it there. The Texas summer air hung heavy and thick, clinging to everything like a wet blanket, even as the evening sun dipped low. My name is Oliver, and for me, it was just another shift at Schlitterbahn Water Park. My new job as a maintenance tech was a decent step up from pulling all-nighters at Waffle House, even if it meant wrestling with chlorine levels and clearing out gunked-up drains. But tonight's task was different. Tonight, I had to dive to the bottom of the mall. This wasn't just any waterslide. The mall was the park's newest, biggest, and without a doubt, its most unique attraction. It was a giant slide, but the real spectacle was what waited at the very end. The park's owner, Sterling, a guy with more money than sense and a famously dark taste, had bought something strange. A shark statue, pulled up from the cold, murky depths of some forgotten lake. According to Reddit, the statue had once been a prop in a low-budget horror movie, purposely sunk by its creators to surprise unsuspecting divers after filming Wrapped. I'd seen the photos online, the ones that pop up if you search for abandoned lake shark statue. They were creepy, sure, but more fascinating than frightening to me. Just a big, weird piece of underwater art. Quick warning though, if you have even a mild case of submechanophobia, don't go looking them up. This massive great white had its mouth open in a strange, almost accidental smile, a subtle upward curl at the corners that looked off. Still, I thought it looked awesome in the pictures. Sterling spent a fortune getting it hauled out of the lake, and even more retrofitting it with hydraulics. For a few extra bucks, after riders shot down the twisting, pitch-black tubes, they were dumped into a massive, echoing pool where the shark, mouth agape in that eerie grin, sat just beneath the surface. It would sometimes surge upward on a hidden track with a mechanical hiss that made the water churn, then sink again, vanishing into the depths to wait for the next group of unsuspecting guests to trip the sensor. Tonight, after the final screaming kid had been escorted out and the gates locked, the mall was silent. Not just quiet, eerily, completely still. It felt oddly calm, like the entire space had been sealed in glass. I started my checklist, filters, pressure gauges, and then, the shark itself. The most important sensor had been acting up, which meant I had to get in the pool and check its housing manually. I grabbed my dive gear, not feeling a hint of nerves. Just another Tuesday night. I pulled on my mask, adjusted the regulator. The steady hiss of my breath filled my ears, a comforting rhythm. The water, usually choppy and loud from the daytime crowds, was glassy smooth, reflecting the distant park lights like scattered diamonds. I pushed off the edge and dropped slowly into the cool, chlorinated quiet. The world above rippled away, leaving me suspended in gentle, blue silence. As I sank deeper, the light dimmed, fading from teal to a deep navy. I flicked on my dive light, its beam cutting sharply through the gloom. And there it was. The shark. I'd seen it from above hundreds of times, and online even more, but seeing it face to face, submerged in the silence, was something else entirely. It was massive, easily dwarfing me, but still just a sculpture. Its lifeless, black eyes, twin voids, didn't bother me. But the smile, that weird, unnatural curl at the corners of its mouth. It wasn't menacing, not exactly. Just, wrong. I figured it was an accident from how the mold had set. Maybe a trick of the sculptor's hand. It seemed to deepen slightly in the low light, but I chalked that up to underwater distortion. Nothing to worry about. At least, that's what I told myself. I forced myself to focus, kicking slowly, deliberately, toward the shark's head. The faulty sensor was located near its jawline. The water around the statue was surprisingly clear, almost unnaturally so. It was as if the massive shape pushed away the usual pool haze, giving me a clean, perfect view. As I drifted closer, the details became sharper, the rough, pitted surface of its fiberglass skin, somehow looking weirdly real, the perfectly sculpted teeth, each one sharp and angled just right. And that smile, the one that never quite seemed natural, it seemed to deepen. Not wider. Not more intense. Just deeper. Like there was now a faint crease in its lips that hadn't been there before. I paused, hovering in place. Maybe it was just the angle. Or the way my dive light played off the surface. I took a steady breath, loud and slow in my ears. Just a statue, I murmured, my voice reduced to bubbles. Just fiberglass and hydraulics. I brought my hands back to the control panel. Found the latch. Opened it. A mess of wires stared back at me. I checked them, found the loose one, and nudged it back into place. Done. I was already thinking about getting out and grabbing something cold to drink when I reached out to close the panel again. And that's when I looked up. The shark's head, it had turned. Not much. Just a tiny bit more to the left. But it wasn't where it had been. And the smile? It had deepened again. Just a little. But enough to feel different. Like it was suddenly sly. A little too confident. A slight sense of unease crept through me, a feeling like cold water soaking into a dry towel. I blinked, shook my head. Currents. Had to be. I pushed away from the shark's face and kicked backward. And then I felt something. A vibration, brief and deep, seemed to pulse from the shark itself. My heart skipped. Okay, that was odd. The hydraulics were off. The entire ride had been shut down for the night. I was the only one here. Maybe the statue had shifted. Maybe I had bumped it. Whatever it was, I needed to finish quickly. Next, I had to check the track. The system that let the shark slide forward during the ride. That meant swimming past its side, all the way to the tail end. I paused. Just a second. That strange discomfort was getting louder inside me, but I pushed it down. It was just a piece of themed decor. I'd seen it dozens of times. No reason to be spooked now. I took a breath and swam past the still head, past its unmoving body. I reached the tail section and started checking the rollers. My light flicked across the submerged rail, each shine and shadow reminding me I was doing something familiar. Mechanical. Grounding. Then, as I moved my hand to adjust the light, a sharp, sudden click rang through the water. It was metallic. It was crisp. It was too close. My body jerked, instinctive. The sound had been sharp and clean. Too precise to be random. My mind screamed at me to turn around, to look, to move, but I couldn't. I was frozen in place, muscles tense, breath caught halfway between inhale and panic. The silence that followed was worse than the sound. Heavy. Pressing. As if the water had thickened into something aware. I steadied my grip on the light, my hands trembling. Then came something else, an intense cold, not from the water, but from somewhere deeper. It washed over me, not like a temperature, but like weight. Like something was there, behind me. Present. Watching. It wasn't just cold. It was a pressure. A presence that filled the space behind my back with the overwhelming sense that I was not alone. That something was right there, too close, and fully focused on me. I didn't want to turn. My mind resisted. But my body, slow and unwilling, moved anyway. My head turned. Every muscle in protest. Every nerve on edge. And then I saw it. The shark. It was no longer facing forward with just a tilted head. No, this wasn't a subtle shift or a slight lean in my direction. Its entire body had rotated. Fully. It was now facing me directly, head-on. Its nose hovered just 5 feet from the front of my mask. Its mouth, already slightly open, now seemed to widen. Slowly. Silently. Stretching beyond what felt possible, consuming more of my dive light with every inch. That unsettling grin was no longer faint, no longer just eerie. It was massive. Impossible. A grotesque, exaggerated expression pulled far too wide. Its lips looked stretched, like they had gone past the sculptor's limits. Its teeth, Each one unnaturally sharp and perfectly aligned, glistened like blades from a different time. And its eyes, those blank, artificial, pitch-black eyes, now looked almost lit from within. There was a spark in them. Something too focused. Too knowing. And they reflected me. My own distorted face stared back from the center of those eyes, surrounded by an expression that seemed to pulse with silent, mocking joy. The statue hadn't moved an inch. Not that I could see. But something about its expression now felt undeniably real. It wasn't just looking at me. It was enjoying this. It was aware. And it was waiting for me to understand. Oh, no. I didn't even reach for my tools. I kicked off the floor with everything I had, adrenaline flooding my system. I moved with raw instinct, the kind that doesn't wait for logic. My arms and legs flailed through the water, scrambling for the surface. But that face, the silent, smiling face of the maw, was burned into my vision, following me up through the dark. My lungs screamed for air. The lights above shimmered, blurred through my rising panic. I sobbed once, short and broken, but I couldn't stop myself. I turned to look back, just once. Just to make sure. The track was there. But the shark was gone. Nothing but the trembling reflection of the overhead lights rippling on the empty water. No giant form. No grin. Just space. No. No, 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 no. I kicked harder, the water seeming to thicken, every splash distorting my limited vision. Every movement sent bubbles across my mask, and in every flicker of motion I imagined a fin, or the gleam of a tooth. The surface felt impossibly far away, as if the pool had grown deeper just to hold me. I felt like something was about to grab me, at any second. My legs burned, my arms ached, but I didn't stop. Not until I finally broke through the surface, gasping, ripping off my mask. I clambered out of the pool with shaking limbs, dragging myself backward across the concrete, my breath ragged and shallow. I didn't stop until I reached the far edge of the deck. My eyes stayed locked on the pool. The surface had gone still. Quiet. Too quiet. But I knew. I knew it wasn't empty. That thing, whatever it really was still down there. And I knew with every part of me that it had allowed me to leave. Just this once. That night was my last at Schlitterbahn. The next morning, I handed in my 2 weeks. No explanation. Just a flat, quiet, I'm done. Sterling, our park manager and the guy who bought the shark, called me multiple times, trying to talk me out of it. He even offered me extra pay to stay. Oliver, come on. I don't know what happened, but we can work it out. Just tell me what you need. Name your price, man, I'll make it happen. But I didn't respond. I couldn't step foot near that place again. Especially not near that pool. Just thinking about the dark water beneath the surface made my stomach turn. I didn't even want to be near it. I didn't want to feel it watching. A few months later, the park closed for good. The official reason? Unforeseen operational difficulties. But everyone around knew that was just corporate speak for, we can't explain it, but something seriously wrong. A few days after that, Sterling completely vanished. Not even a goodbye post on social media. No calls. No trace. No one has heard from him since. No one ever brought up the shark again. Not in meetings, not in company statements, nowhere. It was like they were trying to erase the entire thing. As if it had never been there. I don't know where it is now. Maybe they moved it. Maybe it's still there, still sunk in the bottom of that forgotten pool. Waiting. Watching. I can only hope it stays lost forever. But for me, it doesn't matter. Even if the rest of the world forgets it, I can't. I still see it. That grin. Those eyes. That moment, just before it vanished. It shows up in my dreams, over and over. Always just beneath the surface. Always watching. Waiting. I can't even look at a regular swimming pool without that creeping unease sliding over me. A sense that something is just beneath the surface, holding still. A presence I can't see, but one I know is there. Open water? Completely out of the question. The world suddenly feels too deep. And too full of things that observe you from the dark. Things that wait. Things that smile. Edit, something happened tonight. I saw a breaking story on the local news while eating dinner, and my blood ran cold. A group of parents are pleading for help in locating their missing children. 3 teenagers. Gone without a trace. According to a witness, a man living near the area, they were last seen jumping the fence of an old, closed-down water park. A park that should have stayed buried. Story 2. A killer hid in my house. Only her gift stopped him. Carla always gave the most unexpected gifts. My friend Carla had an uncanny ability to give you exactly what you needed, even if you didn't know it at the time. For my 26th birthday, we went out to a nightclub. It had been one of those crystal clear days, blue skies, no sign of rain. Still, she handed me a yellow umbrella that looked like it had come from a vintage shop. I thought it was a ridiculous gift, especially since she knew I wasn't a fan of bright colors. But right as we stepped outside, rain came pouring down, out of nowhere, even though the weather app said it would stay dry. At Christmas, she gave me a store gift card. The very next day, a rare website glitch happened, everything was 90% off. With the $50 she gave me, I got clothes worth thousands. And even that didn't compare to what she gave her nephew Lucas at his christening. She brought a black cat as a gift, despite knowing her sister wasn't thrilled with pets. 2 days later, the cat uncovered a huge rat sneaking in through the baby's room vent. The family had been worried about unexplained health problems, and the situation suddenly made sense. Thanks to that cat, they found and fixed the issue for good. Everyone in our group started noticing these strange moments. We used to joke that Carla had a sixth sense. She'd just smile and say it was all luck, and that her system was simple. She flipped a coin 3 times for everything, to pick which store to go to, what to buy, even when to leave the house. If she got 3 heads, she went with it. If not, she changed the plan. It became her little ritual. And honestly, it worked. But something felt different this year. Yesterday was my birthday. The music was loud, the mood upbeat. My cousin Valeria made killer mimosas. My co-workers couldn't stop praising the snacks. One had just gotten back from the Amazon and was telling wild stories. It was a perfect party, except Carla wasn't herself. She sat on the couch, quiet, a full glass of wine in her hand. She wasn't talking to anyone. That was unlike her. She was usually bright, energetic, always in the middle of things. But that night, she kept glancing toward the hallway, the window, the stairs, like she was waiting for something, or someone, to suddenly show up. I walked over and asked if she was all right. She looked at the pile of gifts, hers among them, and said she'd been feeling strange all day, like a heavy pressure in her chest. She didn't know why. Then she admitted it was about her gift. She looked almost embarrassed. She leaned toward me and whispered, her lips barely moving. "Open it when everyone's gone. Please." I was about to nod when my boyfriend called out, "Open the presents, open the presents." Everyone joined in, cheering. Carla looked down at the floor. She didn't say a word, but I could tell something was really bothering her. That afternoon, while we were setting up for the party, I felt a strange tension in the air. Nothing clear or obvious, just a vague unease, like the atmosphere had thickened somehow. At one point, I could have sworn I saw a shadow move in the hallway as I passed the kitchen. But when I looked again, nothing was there. I figured it was just the lighting, or my imagination playing tricks. I shook it off and went back to prepping drinks and music. There was too much to do. Later, I began opening presents. My friends had really outdone themselves this year. One even got me a ticket to see my favorite band. I left Carla's gift for last. It was soft, rectangular, with rounded edges, wrapped in bright yellow paper and tied with a red ribbon. A note was attached. To Julian, may you have many more birthdays. Everyone leaned in, curious, expecting yet another one of Carla's strangely perfect gifts. I slowly unwrapped the yellow paper and opened the box. Inside, a carton of eggs. The room fell completely silent. 12 white eggs. No one quite knew what to say, until my boyfriend gave a nervous laugh. Then the tension broke, and everyone joined in, chuckling and making jokes. I laughed too and said, "Looks like your magic touch is slipping, Carla." She looked at me and smiled, but her eyes didn't match the smile. "It's what you need," she said quietly. The coin said so. Something about that sentence made me shiver. I drank too much that night. We didn't clean up before going to bed. Carla's gift stayed where it had been set, on the kitchen floor. A small detail. One we barely noticed. Until now. I'm outside my house, watching emergency responders carry someone out. His name was Salomon Garcia. He had been at the center of a long citywide investigation. The authorities say he had been secretly entering people's homes and hiding there, waiting. Observing. He would stay hidden for weeks. Then something terrible would happen. It was about to be our turn. But this time, something stopped him. He slipped in the kitchen. Fell hard against the counter. That was it. Next to him. The crushed carton of eggs. I keep picturing it in my mind. Him entering the house silently. Stepping into the kitchen. Not seeing what was on the floor. The eggs cracking under his weight, followed by a loud impact. The sound of someone hitting the tiles, unmoving. The image turns my stomach. The police keep asking if I had noticed anything unusual. Odd sounds. Food missing. When was the last time I checked the guest room? That's where they found something chilling, a calendar tucked in a closet. 30 days, all marked off. My skin crawls as they speak. But all I can think about is Carla. Her nervous glance at the gift. Her quiet request. The sound of a coin flipping, once, twice, 3 times, into her palm. How could she have known? Did she sense something? Am I really still here thanks to a decision that came down to chance? What if I hadn't opened that box? What if she had decided not to come to the party at all? A cold breeze brushes past me. One thing I know for certain, I'll never second-guess a gift from Carla again. No matter what it is.